Hi everybody, it is Building Inspector aka Oaky, and I'm doing another Decorators Gone Wild video. It's organizing a storage dungeon, and it is part 2. And so I'm guessing you all decided you want to have a nice, neat, organized storage dungeon. So let's get started. I created a Night of the Dead merchant storage. I already put all the items in. I'm going to go in, just in case you forgot, you press C to open the character window, and then you look near the bottom. Fourth from the bottom is dungeons. You click on that. It shows the list of dungeons. I'm assuming you'll only have one if you're watching this. And then you click on it and click on the edit button, and that will zone you in to the dungeon. Now, it's a total mess. Everything is all over the place. I have stuff in 2 rooms just to get it all down. So if you saw part 1, I started in this corner over here. So to get started, you'll want to figure out which way is north, east, west, and south. Don't worry, you can look at the compass and keep reminding yourself, but I want to start in this corner. So I'm facing north. And I want to add items so that they go towards the south. So when I pick my row, the east west coordinate will stay the same for all the items because I all want them to pretty much start at the same spot along this wall. And then just your north south will change for this line of items. So what I do, well, actually, before I even get started with that, this stuff is going to be in my way once I get down to this corner, and it's all a mess, and it could lag me out because there's so much stuff. So a trick that I like to do is first I'll save. So if you don't know how to use the layout editor and have not installed it or whatever, you can find videos on that. I've already done a how-to's on that, so I'm not really going to cover that. But in those videos, I set up my macros. So I'm going to save both of my layouts, the with and the without. I'm not going to be doing any diffs or anything, but I just out of habit I always save with and the without files. So don't worry, you don't need to know the difference between them in this one. So I have a lot of junk in this side of the dungeon. What I'm gonna do is oops, I got stuck. Okay. What I want to do is put stuff where I'm not gonna be for sure. This looks like a really good spot. Get it all out of the way. So what I do is I type bloke, and when you do that, it gives you the east-west coordinate, then the up-down, which is the z coordinate, and then finally the north-south coordinate. And it will tell you your orientation. That just means what direction are you looking. You don't have to worry about that. So I got this value. I'm going to open my layout editor. I already opened it. I'm going to open the file that I saved. So I'm going to open it, and it's down at the bottom. I always open the without. And then what I will do is you can organize it if you want, like sort it by item name. So it's in alphabetical order. What I like to do is I like to click on this box, empty box, which will highlight everything. And I'm going to put it in a group. So I'm going to do create group fix. And I like to enter in these coordinates that I have. So I'm going to round up to 544. 544. And then the height is 80. I'll do it a little bit off the ground, so I'll do 90. And then I want negative 299 works. 298, whatever. And then what I also do is I highlight this row by left clicking in the box, and then I right click and I do a copy location info, so left click, and then I highlight everything. And it's okay to have the one that you're copying highlighted too. So on this first record, I right click. You can actually do it anywhere on any highlighted one. Now I'm going to do paste location info. It's going to take a minute. I have 1,760 items in this dungeon. So give it a second to load, or a minute. And hopefully it hurries up. You do not have to do this step. If you were smart, which I was not, you could have just gone to a location where you know you're not going to actually have the stuff and just put it there. So it's out of the way. So it's done loading. So I'm going to save this group. The very first time you save a group, it will prompt you. So yes, I have an extra step there. I want to save it. Okay, now I keep typing to myself. I'm not in a group. Okay, now I'm going to get out of the way. Okay, because everything's going to pile up in that one location. So here we go. You ready? I'm going to do the load layout temp out, which is where the saved group data goes. And you can see the stuff start loading in. Fun stuff. You don't want to be standing there when it decides to load everything in. Because as you can see, there's stuff on the ground, even though I put it up in the air. You know, pets and all. They don't like to be up in the air. So, okay. It says it was successful, so now I can safely move wherever I want. Notice there's nothing in this room anymore. There's nothing in this room anymore, and I'm free to start organizing. So this is the spot I want to start. I'm going to do the /loc again. Sorry, my text is really big. I should probably reduce it, but anyway. Now I can delete this group. I'm done with it. It's all stashed away somewhere else. So I'm going to delete any groups that I had. Now, what I like to do is go in alphabetical order. So I had already clicked the item name, this header file or column, cell, whatever. When you click that, it will sort it alphabetically. You can do reverse, so it starts with Z and goes to A kind of thing. So it's being very slow right now. I'm not sure why. So right now it's backwards. So I can click again. It's a toggle. You can go back and forth. So back colony, that is the first item that I want to start with. So I have my location, which is going to come in handy now. And it's trial and error. Don't worry, you're not going to mess anything up. It's easily fixed. Don't panic. So I'm going to move out of the way now. And I don't want to type in there. And now I know how much of each item I put in here, but that's not always the case. A lot of times you just randomly put stuff in a dungeon and so you don't know the count. So if you want to know how many of an item you have, the first thing you do is left click in the cell right next to the item that you want to start with. Then scroll to the end of that. Since I sorted alphabetically, they'll be in order. And then hold down the shift, left click in this empty cell. It highlights all of them. Now, anywhere in this highlighted area, you can right click and then you can pick create group. We're going to create group again and say fixed again. I like that one. It's easy to type. I know what it means. So here we go. If you look here, it says groups 20. That is how many of that specific item I have, 20. So what do I do with that? And how do I get a straight row? Well, there's this tools feature and create objects, and there's two options, tile area and circle or spiral. We're going to start with the tile area. I use that for most of my organizing. So I click that, and a little window pops up. The very first time you open it, none of the values will be in, but it'll get easier once we set it up. You only have to change a couple of numbers. So the first thing that I always do is I copy the item ID. So you click until the ID is highlighted. Sometimes it's one click, sometimes it's two, sometimes it gets mad and you have to like fight with it. But Control C to copy it, and you can paste it right into this item ID field. Okay. Next, I do the item name. So I click until it's highlighted. I do Control C again. I go to the window for creating a tiles and do item name, and I paste that there. It also asks for a group name. You can keep it as new. I like to do this item name in that field. You don't have to mess with the second field. I've never changed that. So the starting point, it has an X, a Z, and a Y. So if you look at the layout editor, X means the east/west coordinates. Where is it going east and west? If you look here, there's a Z. If you look here, there's a matching Z, and that means up, down. So how high is it? How low is it? Then the Y is north, south. What we are going to be doing is moving everything north. So we start north, and it goes in a row to the south. And each new item will go towards the west. So we've got our starting location already in the chat window. So I'm going to move this over and allow me to like hover over my chat window so I can see it again. You can always change it so your chat doesn't go away. So I go into the field, start point for X, and I'm going to pick 372.25. Or let's just do 3.372 without any decimal for now. Keep it easy. Now, the height, the ground level is 86.53. I'm going to just do 86.55 instead. I rounded a little bit. And then the north-south coordinate, there's a negative here. Make sure you're careful to make sure when your chat wraps, you don't miss the negative sign. So it says 301.5. I can't get quite as close to the wall as I like, so I'm gonna change it. And if you don't know if you don't know if you're supposed to do like go to 302 or go to 301 with no decimal, it's really easy. Go back to the game. You can do /loc. You get your loc, and then you move a little bit, and then you do /loc, and then you look at that one. So it starts high, and it goes I'm looking at the wrong one. I want to look at the north south one, which is the third value. So it goes from 302.21 to 292.1. So it's decreasing as you go south. So I want it closer to this wall if possible, so I can squeeze everything in. So I'm going to take my, let me get back to the original one. My 302, and I'm just gonna take off the decimal point. Okay. The end point, you don't need to mess with that. I mean, you can. We're not. It's not very complicated. We're not, creating a house or something. Sometimes I do change this rotations thing. I will show you later on, but for now, we're just not going to mess with it. So the item scale, I don't know how things scale. Some things, the smallest size is 0.5. Some of them are 0.2 or 0.25 or something. They're kind of crazy. So just to be safe, I do 0.1. If it can't go that small, it will just set it to the smallest size it can when it places it. So you don't have to worry about breaking anything. Now, remember I said we're going to go north-south, which is the Y value. Okay. So since we are going to decrease, we can just put the numbers in like normal. I'm not sure why it's that way, but so this says number of tiles and it's the y coordinate. I want it to be 20 because there's 20 items in the house or storage dungeon. Put it in the 20. The tile spacing, that's how much space you want in between them, you know, as you create your row. I want to go small. I want I like to use 0.25 or 0.5 or 1 or even 0.75. So I'm going to first try 0.25 and see if they're too close or not. So I'm going to click create. What it does is it creates a new group and it calls it the name that I said, a bat colony. I can click save group and then I can go back to the game and I click my little macro load. So it's going to load the stuff. Okay, it's really smushed. I know I'm not going to be able to see any gap between them. I really want them to stop around here. So what I will do is I will go back. I delete the group. It's not going to hurt anything. I go back to the tools, create objects, tile area, and if you look, it still has the same values. So since I'm changing the spacing, that is why I'm reusing this create tiles. If you're changing something else, which I'll show you, you don't have to go back and use this again. So let me look here. It looks close enough to this edge. And it looks pretty close to this other wall here. I could probably get a little closer, but I'm going to leave it. All I want to do is change the spacing so it ends up about here and there's a little bit more gap. Just because it's crazy bats flying around, I probably won't be able to see how many I have, but just judging from the distance from the wall determines how many I have. So I can use that visually to tell. So let's change the spacing. I'm going to change it to 0.5. If I create the group again and go back to this group, created the group again, save, come back, load it, and it comes to here. Okay, I'm happy with that. So, if I were just to change like how close it is to this wall or this wall, I wouldn't have had to do that. So I'm going to take this group. I already have it. Let's say I want to get it a little bit closer to the wall. So 25.25. I wanted to go this way closer. So I look at my compass, it says east. So when I type in the amount that I want to move it, 0.25, and then I have what I want moved selected, and I selected everything. I can click this cell, and then I click the east button. I save it again. I load it again, and it moved everything closer. So if it's just a simple, oh, I want it closer to the wall, you can do that instead of deleting the group, creating it again. Okay, so let's just do one more, and then I will stop the video. I'll get us up to a new point and show you some other things. So after I create one, I delete the group that is automatically made when I do the tile area. I'm going to delete the fixed area, which is what I used to determine how many of the item I had. Delete that group. So I don't have any groups. And to know where I am in the list to keep track, I highlight this and select this entire bat colony. And I hit the delete key. It's not deleting your house items. Don't worry. It's just lines that the software, the game reads to determine where to place the items for you. So it's not going to hurt anything to delete it. Okay. So next item, I put 20 of every single item except for the canary and orange stained glass. So I'm not going to keep creating the group to try and save time. I can walk you through it though. You left click on this first cell and then scroll down and find the last one. Left click while holding the shift key to select this whole group. Right click anywhere where you have it highlighted and click create group. Type in the name. I typed in fix before create. Okay. You don't have to do that unless you need to know how many you have. So I'm going back to tools, create objects, tile area. It saved the information as before. So I need to change what item we're going to be arranging. So first I grab the item ID by highlighting the number and I paste in this item ID. Then I grab the name and I copy it to the item name and the group name. Again, you don't have to change the group name, so it would be one last step. I just like that in case I need to save the group for something because I'm doing something more advanced or whatever. Now, the next thing we have to worry about is how much space between this one, the bat colony, and the next item. How much space do I want here? So a good number I use is 1. If it's a medium size width thing like this is, 1 is about the right spacing in between. If they're big items, you probably want to go bigger. If they're small items, you could get away with 0.5 or even 0.25. Just depends upon how big the item you're organizing is. Don't worry if you pick the wrong size. You can move it. So I'm just going to go with increase by 1. So it's 372 for the east-west. I'm going to pick 373. I'm going to click create. I'm going to click save group. And I'm going back to the game, clicking on my load thing. Now, if you're wondering, well, where the heck is the item? If you notice, this item is in the floor. This hangs on the ceiling. Now, it's really cumbersome to try and like get things on the ceiling. They're too high up. If you put them under here, it's too cramped there. So I like to put them in rows just like any other floor item. All I do is I click this cell so it highlights all of them and then I increase the height. I'm going to increase the height I'm just going to guess by 3. And I'm going to go up. So I clicked the up. All of these went up. It was 86.55. Now it's 89.55. I click save and I load it again and voila. There we go. There's the item. Easy, easy, easy. If you don't like it this high and you want it closer to the ground, you can pick to move it down too. So it's only 1 off the ground and say yes or save group. Not yes, save group. And notice it's in the ground. So I decreased it too much. You can play with it. It's not going to hurt anything. But once you get done, I'm going to lift it up just a little bit. Still not out of there. I'm going to lift it up. So I like that. It could be closer to the ground, but I like it that way. It's got enough of a gap in between the items. If you really have to cram in a lot, you could get it a little bit closer because you can tell that they're different items. But for now, we'll leave it like this. So I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to get us further along in placing the items so you can see some other features because it's going to be boring watching me, delete the groups, delete the items so I know where I am. Tools, object, create objects, tile area, change the item, click save. It gets tedious. So hopefully you'll see enough of the event stuff that you catch on. If not, I guess I should do another video or re-record this part. So I hope that this helps. Remember, don't be scared. You're not going to break anything, and anything is easily fixed. So see you in part 2. Or is it part 3? Part 3, I think I'm on now after this. This is part 2. Thanks, everybody.